Shortly after the release of episode 3, my family got the original trilogy on DVD. I still remember the very first time I watched the original film. Even though it was old, I still loved the original trilogy, and would go back and forth between saying I preferred one trilogy over the other.
I was 7 at the time, so yeah.
I don't know how long after I watched the original films did I actually see LEGO Star Wars 2 in action, but just like the first time watching the films, I clearly remember seeing the opening cutscene in action. It blew me away. It looked just like the movie, but in LEGO. I was lucky enough to get a PS2 that Christmas, alongside this game and Looney Tunes Acme Arsenal.
I should really revisit this game at some point. It might make for a cool video.
But that will have to wait. Let's dive into the best LEGO Star Wars game ever. Or second best, I don't know, I haven't actually played them all. The best LEGO Star Wars game for the PS2, definitely. Also, I'm playing this off of PS2, just like last time, which is why it looks like it's being played off of PS2, because it is.
Now, once again, the music is just the music from the movie, so it's fantastic. I do feel like last time I didn't really go into how good the music feels in this game. It really makes it feel like Star Wars, and having to play with it off sucks. So once again, I'm using Dragon Quest III music as a replacement for the Star Wars music, because it's similar. Yeah.
The gameplay is very similar to the first game, but it has enough differences to stand out on its own, and it feels like an overall improvement. A pretty simple change was adding the ability to actually build in-game. Yeah, the first game didn't have that. You cannot do this in the first game. I mean, there was that one moment where you did build, but it was using the Force, so it's not exactly the same. Every game after this would have this type of building in it, where any character, almost any character, could build by holding circle while standing over these jumping blocks that also have a slight sparkle to them. Speaking of sparkles, things that you can use the Force on now have a slight sparkle to them, which got rid of the minor problem of not realizing you can use the Force on something unless you had a Jedi character selected from the first game. A problem so minor that I forgot to mention it in the last video. You can now also move the camera around ever so slightly with the right analog stick, which again is something that I forgot to mention you couldn't do in the last video.
This time there's a timer and a percentage meter, which was really lacking in the last game. The last game, you look at your save file and all you have to go off is the stud amount, which doesn't really mean anything, leading me to have to guess which save file is which when I was a kid. And I also just don't know how long it took me to beat the game. But here, I got a percentage meter and a timer, so that's great. The cutscenes are full of charisma. In the last game, they were pretty cool. They were pretty good. But this game, man, this game really knocks it out of the park. It's just oozing with charisma and joy, and this is great. Yeah, I can just play any cutscene here. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a funny moment. Remember this moment? That's pretty funny. Remember when Lando's doing that thing? That's hilarious. Remember when R2 and C-3PO are in the background sneaking in the bar? That's cool. You know, it's great. Anytime Vader is interacting with his men and they're crying, I love it. It's great. How many times can I say it's great before it gets old?
The levels are much more expansive in this game than they are in the last. Take the first levels, for example. Negotiations was a hallway that led into some side rooms and an open area, and that's it. If you really wanted to, you could blaze past everything here. It's a pretty bad introductory level in terms of teaching the player what the game's going to be about. Secret Plans, on the other hand, is long enough to get a real feel for the game. There's enough there to feel like a true experience. It doesn't introduce that many more mechanics to the player than Negotiations does, but it gives you a lot more time to play around and get a good grasp on them. I can cut to multiple sections of this level while talking about it, which isn't really possible with Negotiations. And it's not just this first one, pretty much every level is as fleshed out. That being said, since every level is like this, your game time is going to be a lot longer than it was in the first game, which isn't necessarily a good thing. Like last time, I recorded in 30-minute chunks. That would usually get me about 2 levels worth of footage. This time, it was about a level and a half if I was lucky, and if I wasn't, it was 1. There are shorter levels in this game, but they are definitely the minority here. Remember how last time I recommended only playing a handful of levels before taking a break to avoid fatigue? Well, that handful kinda got reduced to just 1 now. Look, it's LEGO Star Wars. It's not the most mechanically interesting game out there. It's kind of repetitive. I still like the game a whole lot, but I did feel the need to take breaks a lot more often here than last time, though that might be because I just recently played the first game and the fatigue is kind of accumulated over these 2 playthroughs. I've come to think that this feeling mostly stems from me trying to 100% these games. If I just play normally, it wouldn't be a problem. I could move at a normal pace, not having to pass over every extra I found, but also not having to stop and check everything in the level. I think trying to get everything as soon as possible is a bad way to play this game. It's especially irritating when I end up missing something in the level and I have to play it all over again later.
Playing this game for the review means I have to play it in a certain time constraint, which at times is probably the wrong way to play any game, because, I mean, honestly, if it was up to me, I would be playing this game instead. I haven't played a lot of COD 4. I want to review this game relatively soon, the multiplayer specifically, so I've been playing a lot of that. And I had to drop this game to finish this freaking video, which maybe made me feel kind of jaded towards this game. Kind of.
Some standout levels are, well, all the levels from episode 4 actually. Those are all really good, and it was the most fun I had playing this game. The levels in episode 5 are okay, but it's when things start to feel a bit too long and bland. It's less exciting overall. Escape from Echo Base is a fine enough level. Betrayal of Bespin has you running and gunning, which keeps you engaged.
It's also the one level where the music won't actually turn off for some reason.
But levels like Dagobah and Cloud City Trap are just okay. Dagobah doesn't have many enemies other than these respawning bats and the occasional snake. It does have this neat mechanic of needing Yoda to be on your back in order to use the Force while you're still learning it, and this is where Luke goes from a blaster character to a Jedi, but there just isn't that much to do in the level.
They completely fix Yoda. No longer is it you move the stick 1 millimeter and he goes flying in the other direction. No, he actually just walks like an old man without his lightsaber out, and when he has the lightsaber out, he uses his stick to kind of hop around, which is much more enjoyable. The only downgrade he had in this game was the lack of a hover chair, which he had in the last game. But other than that, yeah, they fixed him. Out of focus again? Yeah, let's get him out of focus. There we go. Also, I can't believe I didn't include this in the last review. Come on, what's wrong with me, dude? Also, what's wrong with these light placements? I'm terrible at lighting. Could you guys tell? Not my strong suit in college.
Cloud City Trap is more or less a big fight with Vader. This was way better than the same kind of level we got with Grievous in the first game, but not a great level in general. It's kind of fun trying to fight Vader in a way that looks cool, but R2 is there, so it's not that cool. Kind of a big missed opportunity here, not having Luke and Vader be their own separate characters and fighting each other, kind of like with the last level of the first game. I understand why that happened, because then it would unlock Vader as a character, but still a missed opportunity. Episode 6 levels are a mixed bag. I like Jabba's palace enough. There isn't anything wrong with it, but there's also nothing that wows me. Speeder Showdown seems to be a universally hated level. I personally don't mind it, but it is pretty long, with large open areas that make getting from one place to another a bit annoying. The speeder section itself is fine though. It's pretty simple actually. But then there's levels like Jedi Destiny where you team up with Darth Vader and you have to fight the Emperor. I don't see how anybody can dislike this level. It's kinda short, but come on, you play both as Vader and Luke. It's great. I will say that in general, the levels here are better than the ones from the first game. Episode 4 levels are great like I mentioned. Those alone blow anything from the first game out of the water. They keep you going at a normal pace while fighting enemies at normal intervals. I think Rescue the Princess is my favorite because of its location, the enemies you fight, and the pseudo-stealth mechanics. More on that later. The level after that is also kind of like part 2 of that level, which feels good for some reason. It also doesn't feel repetitive like the levels in the first game that shared similar locations. Probably because it's one after the other here, so it just feels like one big level. Whereas in the first game, it kind of felt like we're going back to this place, and it's kind of uninteresting. It's kind of like big, wide open areas with not that much to do. Here, though, you're on the move. You're chasing down stormtroopers. You run into the room. but there's like a billion stormtroopers like in the movie. It's great, it's great. It kind of lags there, but it doesn't matter because it's a cool moment. It's like the movie. It's a lot more dynamic than the first game. The only level from episode 4 that is just alright is the last one, and that's mainly because it's a vehicle level. In the last game, vehicle levels were very different from one another. Here is where the level vehicle formula was established. You either love these levels or hate them. The first problem is that it's pretty hard not to die. It's not as easy to avoid enemy fire as it is in the normal levels, which makes it a bit harder to fill up the stud meters in these levels. The controls aren't terrible, but I understand why people don't like them. There is no way to fully stop to reassess yourself most of the time. On some levels I was able to get it to almost completely stop, but it did still kind of move forward very minimally, but still, you can't just stop, because, you know, you're in a vehicle, obviously, but it's annoying. Turning is pretty bad. It's a pretty wide turn. You're not going to make no sharp turns in here. It's pretty bad. I don't even want to think about playing these in co-op. I think I've only played them in co-op literally once in my life, and it was like it was the second level I ever played. It was the first level of episode 5 of the speeders. I don't remember my experience with that, but, you know, I mean, I enjoyed the game enough, I guess. I don't know. You can flip around by hitting X and moving the joystick in the opposite direction you were moving in, but sometimes it doesn't work and it just kind of has you going all over the place in an annoying way, which will crash you into walls a lot of the time, which does damage, by the way. If you hit the wall going fast enough, it does damage. Most levels will have you collect these photon torpedoes that you need to shoot at things.
Nice little detail is that the Y-Wing can actually carry a bit more of the torpedoes than other vehicles can, which is nice because it's a bomber ship or whatever.
But there are also these bombs that you need to use your tow cables to drag around, and yeah, it sucks. Not only can these spy robots disrupt your movement, but it's also just hard to avoid having it blow up on stuff you don't want it to blow up on. That all being said, I do like how you take down the walkers with the tow cables, you know, spinning around them. It's nice. And I like how the Millennium Falcon has a secondary gun that will auto-target other things, because, you know, the ship has two guns on it. But they're still not fantastic levels. I can take them or leave them. They're not too disruptive, but they're also not levels that I would replay just for fun. Since these levels aren't so different from each other this time, you can actually play them again in free play. And you can also buy ships in the shop like you can with other characters. Blaster characters got the biggest upgrade of all the character types. I stated last time that the Blaster characters were lacking in options when you compare them to the Jedi. All they could do was jump and shoot, really. We get a few more things this time around. First off, we have the ability to dodge blaster bolts. Oh no. Damn, I forgot he could dodge! Oh. Hell yeah, dude, that's criminal. Damn. Not everybody can do this, but it gives them an advantage in long-range combat that they didn't have before. It actually makes sense to pick them over a Jedi when dealing with enemies from afar. Their shots also have greater aim assist this time around. I don't seem to struggle with actually hitting something as much. Another addition is the pseudo double jump or the jump dive. Again, this is something that not every character has, but a lot of the main cast do. You can press jump twice to do this dive, which as a platforming tool isn't that useful, but you're going to want to do once you realize that you shoot faster after doing it. It's just 3 quick shots after the dive, but it's still pretty cool. Han has the quickest version, I believe, at least the quickest from the main cast. Luke can do it too, but he stumbles a bit before he can actually shoot, which is a nice detail since at this point in the story, he has some innate talent, but it's unrefined, and he's a bit of a goofball. The stormtroopers just fall on their faces, which is great. Lando can also do this, shooting his blaster sideways, which on the one hand is kinda cool, but on the other, actually never mind, it's just cool. Lastly, blaster characters were given a melee option when close enough to an enemy, or an ally. First level, but there's this silver. Can you stop punching the old man? I love punching this dude. No, not that guy, this guy. Yeah. It has some pretty hard lock onto it, which leads me to punch my buddies when I just want to pull out my blaster. Some characters have it better than others. Leia's is a slap which feels in character, but it has a pretty long wind up to it. Lando kicks for some reason. Han really swings for it, which is weird, I guess. I don't know. And Luke's is the best by far. It's very, very fast. Bro's been hitting them speed bags, if you feel me. Also, Chewie can rip off the arms off of stormtroopers for some reason. I'm guessing that's like a reference to the one line in the movie when they're playing space chess or whatever. Is it from that scene? I don't remember. I haven't seen that movie in a while. Short characters are a bit better in this game since they actually have a lethal weapon this time around. Like the movie, they have a copy of a lethal weapon. Funny enough, you also only play with them for one story mode level, like last time. I thought that was like a unique thing in the last game, which is why I brought it up, but no, it's the same here. R2 and C-3PO are the only astromech and protocol droids in the game, so they're used a lot more to open panels. Though this robot guy can also access their panels, which is a nice detail. The Jedi are a lot less common in this game. There are only 2 levels in total where if you're playing with a buddy, both players will have control of a Force user. Every other level, somebody's gonna get stuck playing with the blaster character, which is probably why they gave them such a big upgrade this time around. I know this change was made because of the original trilogy and how it works, but it makes things feel a lot more balanced. They're still the best character type, having all the abilities they had last time, but they feel even better since they aren't as common. You know, the classic if everybody's super nobody is was kind of going on in the last game. But here you can actually feel there are advantages they have over other character types. That being said, sometimes I do prefer using a blaster character for their close combat abilities, since their attacks often come out faster than the Jedi's swings. The high jump character type was completely removed, making the Jedi the best at jumping this time around. This is where I bring up the difference between a character type and a character attribute. Last time I said that the ability to jump high was more of a trait than a character type on its own, because of the lack of cohesion between the characters that could do it. This time I bring it up because I don't think that the bounty hunters are a completely different character type from the blaster characters. They have the unique ability of throwing these thermal detonators, which is needed to blow up silver Lego structures, and they can access these bounty hunter panels, similar to how the droids can activate their own panels, but at the end of the day, they're the same as a blaster character more or less. This is especially evident when you take into account that they are Empire panels that only characters that are part of the Empire can activate. Both the Stormtrooper and Vader himself can make these things work. So the Empire character class doesn't really make sense. These are mostly used to get minikit pieces in free play, but there are a few instances where you can open them up during story mode. This leads me into a new mechanic, headgear. Some levels have these dispensers where you can place helmets or hats on your head. Sometimes it's just for fun. Other times, they are needed to progress in the level, like in Rescue the Princess where you need to wear the Stormtrooper helmet in order to activate the panels. I love how Chewie's helmet is only barely on his head, and the fact that while you have one of these helmets on, the enemies won't attack you is a fantastic detail. It only takes one hit to lose them, which isn't a big deal since, you could just go back and get another one, but it does get a bit annoying when you're almost at the panel and it gets shot off. You get 29 of the 64 characters just from doing story mode. But if you count the 2 custom characters, there are 70 in total. Speaking of which, in the hub world, you can find these vats where you can customize a character you can use in free play. As you collect more characters, more options are given to you to customize your own. I'm surprised this wasn't a thing in the first game. What is more LEGO than making your own thing from pieces of other stuff you are given? There's no gameplay benefit to using them in free play, as opposed to using one of the normal characters, but it's still pretty cool that you can even do it. Hooded Dave will forever be in my heart. As a kid, I remade C-3PO, but made him a Sith Lord.
I introduce you Pig Guy and Yellow. Those are the best names I could come up with. Yeah. They're great characters, though. For the IJP lore. Yeah, if I'm still doing this in like 20 years, that's gonna be like a question on a giveaway. Like, what are the 2 custom characters' names from his Lego Star Wars review? It's Pigman and Yellow. Although in my notes I did write Pig Guy, so I might be messing up the name. I don't know.
The characters are full of charisma and feel unique from one another, even though they all technically play the same. I'm sure I haven't even noticed all the small details that went into them, like the officers holding one hand back as they shoot, or this droid using his head as a melee weapon, or this dude being from Helldivers. Damn, I accidentally did that. Oh, dude, you saw that? How he kind of trips because he's old? Look. Oh, he kind of tripped there. Oh, I've still got it, though. It's the little things that separate the feeling that this game gives off from the feeling that the first game had.
Alright, let's do the triangle test for this game. Triangle test approved. Triangle test successful. Bruh.
Enemies aren't really worth talking about in this game since, you know, it's pretty simple. They die in one hit most of the time. But I did want to mention the Gamorrean Guard and the Imperial ones, since those are like the two examples of enemies that don't go down in one hit. And they can also block your attacks. The Imperial Guards are the only enemies that take 4 hits to take out, or 1 Force Choke from Vader. Like father, like son.
So this game also has respawning enemies like it did in that one level from the last game, but here it honestly just doesn't bother me because they're not constantly respawning when they are respawning enemies. There's a delay on them, so it's not just a constant stream. It's like 5 enemies, then there's like maybe like 30 seconds where nothing's happening, and then they spawn in again. Whereas in the last game it's just constant. It can get a bit annoying, but this annoyance is completely neglected if you're playing co-op, because the other player can just deal with them while you do whatever you need to do. So yeah, Abby, that's why I don't mind respawning enemies in this game. They're just not nearly as bad as last time.
I can't believe I forgot to explain the studs in the last video. I mean, they're pretty self-evident, but I still wanted to vocalize it. Silver studs are worth 10, gold are worth 100, and blue are worth 1,000. This game introduces the purple stud, which is worth 10,000. And that's literally the only reason why I wanted to mention the values, is because this is where the purple ones get introduced and it's 10,000. You get so much more money in this game than in the last. I got 119,000 studs in the first level. In the first game, I got that from the first 3 levels combined. The bonus level in the last game giving 100,000 studs was noteworthy. That's just a common occurrence now. The stud meter returns, but this time you have to both get it in story mode and in free play. On the one hand, I like this, because I can go after the meter in story mode, but then when I go and replay it on free play, I still have something to do that isn't just collecting the mini kits. On the other, if you miss refilling it the first time, you have to play story mode again just for that reason. It honestly wasn't that much of a big deal. People really don't like this change. But however you feel about it, at least they made it way more obvious when you actually fill the meter this time.
Now that's more like it.
You don't get super kit pieces in this game. It isn't a replacement per se, but the new collectible for this game are the golden bricks. You get these for completing certain tasks, like completing the level in story or free play, filling the stud meter, or a few other things. You can also buy them from the shop, which is something that I wish I had done way earlier in the playthrough. You see, once you get about 60 of the 99 in-game, you start earning 100,000 studs per gold brick. The obvious exception being the ones from the shop. You'll obviously never get money back from buying something, because that would not make sense. So I basically lost 800,000 studs by not buying them earlier, or at least not buying them before I hit the 60. Not that big of a deal, but I like the optimization. Once you collect enough of these gold bricks, you can actually use them to build doorways in the hub world. Here you can access 3 modes. Super Story, which has you play through the story mode again, under a time limit and in one go. Bonus Character, in which you need to collect 1 million studs in under 5 minutes. And Minikit Bonus, which is the same thing, but instead of using a character, you select one of the minikits you have built up to that point. Don't even bother doing the character bonus if you don't have a bounty hunter character yet, because you need to blow up these silver structures in order to get a lot of studs, and I don't think you can actually even finish this mission without blowing that thing up, because it gives you a lot of studs. Character and minikit bonus are pretty fun. I prefer the character ones for obvious reasons, because, you know, it's just the normal characters and not the crappy wide-turning vehicles, but they are both quick challenges that don't overstay their welcome at all. As a kid, I really liked the character bonus, since this was the easiest way to just fight a ton of enemies just for the sake of fighting a ton of enemies, which is something that I like to do as a kid. Super Story, surprisingly, although being incredibly unremarkable since it's just the story again, but doing it quickly, was a lot of fun for me. I thought I was going to dislike this heavily, and I was putting it off for the longest time. I legit felt tense when I was only a few minutes away from failing during the last level of episode 6, which is kind of like the actual characters in the movie. They're on a time limit. Now, I remember hearing somewhere that you can actually fail to hit the time requirement and you'll still get the golden brick, but I wasn't about to test that out, because it's an hour. I'm not testing that out. I'm just gonna assume that's not correct and that you need to hit the time limit. Another gold doorway is located outside the bar, and this bonus level is called Lego City, in which you gotta collect 1 million studs yet again. Though this time there's no time limit and most of the environment is destructible, and that's how you get studs. I don't remember getting anything from this. I don't even think you get a gold brick from doing this. It's just a little extra thing you can do, which is kind of neat. It can get a bit annoying though, because there's only a certain amount of studs in the level, and if you're almost at the end and you haven't found like the last thing you need to do in order to get the studs, you're gonna be there for a while. Still, it's an interesting and unexpected thing in this game, and I think this kind of level would return in most of the future LEGO games, if I'm not mistaken. This is also where the LEGO word was moved to, which is neat. Another new thing is this doorway that will only open once you bought all the bounty hunter characters in this game, so maybe they are their own character type, I don't know. These are 10 short missions where you need to find a character in a small section of a level in a very short time frame. The thing I like the most about this is the fact that all the bounty hunters are individually in the level and they're following you around. Other than that though, it's like 2 minutes, so they're really quick, and there's only 10 of them. But kind of neat, I guess. I don't know. Extras are back, but they aren't available in the shop from the start. You have to collect these power bricks in the levels in order to get a chance to buy them in the shop. Last time, most of them were only cosmetic changes. This time, they actually changed gameplay quite a lot. Stud multipliers, baby. Oh yeah. You see them studs? Imagine if there was twice as many. Well, now you don't have to imagine it. You can make it a reality. For the low price of 2 million studs. Oh boy. This isn't as bad as the studs you need to get the invincibility from the last game, since again you get way more studs per level this time. Oh, but it doesn't even stop there. We also get times 4, 6, 8, and 10 multipliers, which can all be stacked together to get a total of 3,840 times multiplier, which then can also be doubled due to these double score areas in some levels to get a total of 7,680 multiplier. Hot damn! It's pretty overkill. You really only need times 10 to break the game, so you know, 7,000, over 7,000 is insane. How much does this all cost, by the way?
$90?
Oh.
Yeah, good luck getting that one first.
So the most expensive thing went from 1 million studs to 30 million studs. Yeah, inflation's crazy, man. That sucks.
I was originally going to say that if you're planning on 100%ing this game, fast tracking the purchase of the ×2 multiplier is going to be your best bet. That it would facilitate the purchase of the other score multipliers. But honestly, ×2 was the only one I got up until the very end of the game. I couldn't even get ×4 before reaching over 90% completion. It's not just the ×10 that's overpriced here. On the one hand, I get why such a powerful tool was locked behind such a large amount of studs, but on the other, there's no point of having it in game since you aren't going to have a chance to actually use it.
By the way, you don't drop studs when you have one of these multipliers on, so you can't just like farm your own studs by like often dropping studs and then just collecting them again, but ×2 or 4 or 8 or whatever. No, you just don't drop studs when you die. You do lose them, but they're just gone into the ether.
Some other extras that would have been actually useful to use, like the infinite torpedoes or the fast build or fast force usage, I didn't end up buying them because I was saving for the ×4 multiplier, which I really shouldn't have. Invincibility is 100,000 studs cheaper than last time, and they completely fixed the detect minikit extra. Having the arrow be visible while the minikit itself isn't, makes it actually useful. The only reason I didn't use it more was because I didn't actually find that brick in the levels up until almost the very end. And even when I did end up getting it, I only had like 2 or 3 minikit pieces throughout the levels to get all the minikits. Speaking of which, doing so will unlock the Slave 1 ship for free play. Is it Slave 1 or Slave 2? I don't know, I just wrote down Slave 1. I don't know Star Wars, I'm not a fan of Star Wars. I hate Star Wars. There are also some default extras you can get from the shop without needing to collect any power bricks. These are mostly silly things like C-3PO being on Chewbacca's back, or being able to switch to secret characters while in free play that aren't on the actual list, like the skeleton or these other droids.
I hope I have footage of that. I'm not recording any more footage, so is there a picture of Donatello from the Ninja Turtles on screen right now? If there is, that means I didn't record it.
Or this thing that gives everybody a mustache like last time.
Although this time it's not just a mustache, there's also some glasses and a funny nose. And I don't know if this was a thing in the last game, but this extra adds them to the cutscenes too. Look at these cutscenes. They're actually in the cutscenes. That's crazy. I don't think I knew that up until this playthrough I did. That's pretty cool.
But then there's this one. Use old save. I had no idea what this meant as a kid. Having played the first game now, I know that that's the save icon from the first game. So what, 250,000 studs just to change the save icon back to Yoda? Well, no, it doesn't seem to do anything. It's still Vader. Well, that's disappointing. After collecting all the golden bricks, you can build the
Oh my god!
They're all here. All the characters from the last game, they're here. This brings the character count from 86 to 114. Now, any characters that were in the last game that are also in this one obviously aren't included in this extra stuff, so you can't just buy this extra to unlock those characters in this game, but who cares? This is still great. Being able to play as any of these characters is crazy. Did you ever think you would see Qui-Gon in Leia's hair in this video? Did you ever expect that? No, you didn't. Don't even try to tell me you did, because you didn't. And look, you can play as father and son. That's poetic? I don't know, that's kind of cool. They actually did it. They actually gave my boy a normal ass jump like I asked last time. I didn't ask that last time in anticipation for this, by the way. That was an honest complaint that got fixed in this game. That's crazy. It ain't all peaches and cream though. God. There are minor changes to some characters. I didn't notice them all, but the one I did notice was Queen Amidala's blaster. It's not the same. It's kind of like a default blaster here for some reason. I don't like it. The way the characters are listed is also kind of strange. They're grouped by variants instead of like trying to mimic the original listing. So poor old Qui-Gon is just sitting there in the corner all by his lonesome self. They also didn't add any of the new mechanics to the blaster characters, so they can't dodge, jump, dive, or dodge. I said that already. They can't dodge, jump, dive, or melee. It's not that big of a deal since this is extra content, so, you know, whatever. This is the first LEGO game with this big of a roster, which makes it look more like the roster from a LEGO game in the next generation of consoles instead of the one that it's actually on. After collecting all the golden bricks, you can build the stud fountain outside, which is how I got all the money I needed to buy the remaining extras. Still way better than grinding levels to get invincibility in the last game.
I will say that unlike last time, there was no point where I needed to grind, really, except for the very end, like I just mentioned. But throughout the rest of the game, there was no moment where I had to stop and just grind for something. I was collecting the remaining collectibles I needed. Again, up until the very, very end, which was not the case in the last game. The last game I did stop and grind quite a while to get the last extra. Here, though, again, I was actually doing stuff. I was actually collecting the remaining gold bricks that I needed, the mini kit pieces, the extras, the power bricks, rather, in the levels themselves. So I never felt like, okay, this is the part of the game where I just like stop and need to play more for this like arbitrary reason, which isn't actually arbitrary because, you know, that's not what that word means, but regardless, it felt better than it did in the last game. And in the last game, I kind of explained how after beating the game, there's nothing left to do. I kind of felt like kind of disappointed. In this game, that feeling was absolutely not there. I did feel fulfilled enough with the game.
This game is a big improvement from the last game, and it establishes things that will continue to pop up in LEGO games up until modern day. It's not perfect, dragging in a few places, but overall, it's a fun time. If you want to 100% this game, I'd say do not do it in only a few sittings or over the course of a week. Take your time with it. I originally 100% of this game back in 2018, and I remember it being a breeze. But I also didn't start up a brand new file when I did it. I believe I started playing one that had all the levels beaten already, just I need to collect the remaining stuff. It took me over 20 hours to beat it this time, which seems like way longer than it took me last time. But let's actually check my old save file. I still have it. Almost 30 hours? Damn, maybe I beat it over the weekend. I could have sworn I beat it in like one day, but okay. I bring this up to say that I don't remember being as fatigued last time as I was this time, but yeah, I was a bit fatigued this time.
This game kind of made me question if I like Lego games or not anymore, which is like kind of weird. It's very weird, especially if you look at my reaction to the 2 videos I did on this game on the second channel, because I was having a blast. But then after a while, I did just feel like, oh, I honestly just kept playing because I wanted to finish this review. It wasn't really because I was having a whole bunch of fun with the game. Although there was some points, like the super story, which I did enjoy myself quite a lot. Again, I think some of that feeling had to stem from it taking time away from this game and World at War, which I've also been playing a lot. I eventually did play this game in co-op just to get the footage at the very end, and then I realized, oh, I should have done this way earlier, because even though I just finished the game, I was kind of like, okay, I'm done with this game, I don't have to play it anymore. I had a really good time playing it on co-op. So I think that's probably the way to go with Lego games. They're a lot more enjoyable when you're playing it with somebody else, which is how I played it as a kid, so it would make sense.
I did run into some nasty glitches involving the hatches you can go into just not working, which made me have to reset a level. Not that big of a deal, but it is a bit annoying. I can definitely recommend this game to any LEGO fan. Right? Okay, so there's this little game called LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga that came out a year after this one did, that puts the contents from the first 2 games into one bundle. Which begs the question, is it worth playing the originals over the Complete Saga?
Well, that's the next LEGO game that TT Games released, so that's the next LEGO game that I'm going to have to review. But as someone who's just reviewed the first 2 games and is kind of wants to play other games, again, Modern Warfare, I'm not going to be doing that for a while because I don't want to burn myself out and have that affect the review in a way. I was thinking about it. I was thinking maybe I just won't review. I just won't do 100% Let's Play. But I don't want to do that. I actually do want to. I want to actually do it for reviewing sake and whatnot. So I will eventually review the Complete Saga, but it's going to be later. But anyways, that's the end of the review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. If you're watching the premiere, for the love of God and all that is holy, please leave a comment. I'm doing a new thing in the settings of the video. I'm gonna see if that gets this video more views or not. Maybe. I'm not gonna tell you guys what it is. It's a little secret between me and myself. But this will either get the video a whole lot more views, have it not affected at all, or have it tank, which honestly, whatever. I mean, if that happens, it's like whatever, you know. Next review, I guess the next review is gonna be Minecraft. No, it's probably gonna be Metroid 2. I need to start playing that game. But I really want to just review this game though, but I can't now because the PS3 is dumb. Oh, and also I need a PC. I need an actual personal computer, desktop. Am I forgetting something? I always feel like I'm forgetting something. I forgot stuff last time, so I probably did forget stuff this time. Yeah, the grapple sound is different in this game than the last. I definitely should have mentioned that. Let me know in the comments. Do you think did I explain stuff a little too much? I just summarize more. I don't know. The video's pretty long. I mean, obviously, I'm not done editing it. I'm recording it right now, you dumbass. But as of now, it's 30 something minutes. Is it gonna be 40? Hopefully not. Hopefully not. It's gonna be if I keep freaking talking. Let's wrap this up. All right. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Click the like button. Here's the first review. And up here somewhere. Click on it. It's gonna be in the end card as well. Click on it. Leave a comment. Share it with a buddy. Don't share it with a buddy. No, do the first thing to share it with a buddy. Angry Canadian, the our obligatory Angry Canadian shout out. Minecraft PNG. What else can I say? Fortnite? No, I'm not. I played Fortnite once and I didn't like it. Get out of here, Fortnite. Go with Jasmine and the rest of them. All right, peace out. Yeah.
And because of that, you can buy shops. What?